Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to give my review of the Raw after Wrestlemania. Starting off the night, we have John Cena. John Cena comes out to the ring, the newly crowned Undisputed Champion. John Cena walks out to the ring, gives the announcer a message. The announcer then reintroduces Cena as the GOAT. John says the winner's right history. John then mocks the fans. John says that the fans owe him an apology. Fans chanting, "We are sorry." John then points at the Titantron. John says that he has 27 dates left until he is done in the WWE. But John says that there's 27 appearances not to wrestle. After that, John then mocks Rhodes. John then goes to leave. All of a sudden, Orton's in the ring. And before John can do anything, Orton hits an RKO on John Cena, sending a message to John Cena that he is next in line for the Universal title. A couple of things I'm going to talk about this, man. Number one, I was really harsh with WrestleMania 41 in its entirety. There was a couple of good matches. Obviously, the triple threat matchup at WrestleMania was probably the best main event we got throughout the entire WrestleMania weekend. But I was happy with the outcome of John beating Cody Rhodes and becoming the new Universal Champion, breaking the record that he held with Ric Flair, and becoming 17-time World Heavyweight Champion. The match itself between Rhodes and John, it really didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought it was kind of lackluster. And I vented my frustrations about that the other day when I did my WrestleMania review for you guys. But I'll say this. Number one, I was happy The Rock did not show up last night. I told you guys straight up that if The Rock would have showed up last night, it would have legitimately pissed me off because, no offense, man, you're a day late and $1 short. If The Rock was going to be a part of this whole John Cena situation, The Rock should have been there and had been a part of the main event match on night 2 between John and Rhodes. That didn't happen. Instead, we get John coming out to the ring. John's cutting a promo, pretty much mocking the fans, mocking Cody Rhodes. And then we get Randy Orton. Randy Orton comes out of nowhere, hits an RKO, leaving John Cena pretty much helpless in the middle of the ring. Now, let's fast track a little bit forward. WWE's next pay-per-view is May 10th, WWE Backlash, I believe, that's taking place in St. Louis, Missouri, the hometown of none other than Randy Orton. Now, the way this is shaping up, obviously it seemingly seems like it will be Randy Orton taking on John Cena at Backlash in St. Louis for the Universal title. I'm all for this. This is one of the biggest rivalries for John Cena throughout his entire career. He's had a lot of great rivals, obviously Edge, Randy Orton, just to name a couple. But the roles are reversed this time. The last time that Orton and Cena had faced off against each other, Orton was the heel and Cena was the babyface. Now the roles have been reversed. Now we have Randy Orton being the babyface and John Cena being the heel. This is going to be a very interesting matchup if this match does in fact go down between Orton and Cena. It looks like that's the direction that WWE is going leading into Backlash this year. I'm all for it, man. I'm locked in. I think it's going to be great. I was a little shocked and surprised, though, that we did not see Cody Rhodes throughout this entire segment that John Cena had last night on Raw. I don't know what happens next for Cody Rhodes. I really don't. I think we'll hear something from Cody, hopefully on SmackDown. But like I told you guys before, with Rhodes losing that belt, honestly, it seems as if Rhodes is going to be chasing after John Cena for that Universal title. It's not like Cody Rhodes will not be world champion once again. But I think it's good for Cody to actually be the one that actually chases for the title. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get here between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And it looks like we're going to get Randy Orton versus John Cena most likely at this year's Backlash. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Moving on from that, we have a women's tag team matchup for the tag team titles. It's a rematch. It is Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to take on Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. It was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams with Liv and Becky both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Liv Morgan then hits a code breaker in the middle of the ring. After that, we have Becky hitting a manhandle slam. Liv then hits a powerbomb on Lynch. Raquel then hits an avalanche powerbomb on Lyra off the top rope. Lyra then gets up, hits a enziguri in the middle of the ring, but Liv Morgan hits an Oblivion, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match and new women's tag team champions are Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. After the match, you can see Lyra Valkyria frustrated in the middle of the ring. Becky Lynch goes in to greet Lyra Valkyria, but all of a sudden Becky then attacks Lyra, pretty much sending a message to Lyra Valkyrie. It looks like that partnership between Becky and Lyra is no more. Moving on from that, we have the New Day. The New Day come out to the ring with their newly tag team titles that he just won against the War Raiders at WrestleMania. New Day come out to the ring. They hype up their championship win that they got at WrestleMania. New Day said that there are no other tag teams better than them. After that, they're interrupted by Alpha Academy. They're here. And it looks like Alpha Academy wants a title shot. And it looks like that match is going to happen. But all of a sudden, the lights go out. The lights come back on. And at the entrance ramp, at the stage, the Titantron, we hear some music playing. And all of a sudden, it's the return of none other than Rusev. Rusev finally makes his return to WWE. He comes out to the ring. He attacks the Alpha Academy and applies an accolade on Otis in the middle of the ring. So it does look like Rusev is back once again in the WWE. Moving on from that, we have Io Sky. Io Sky comes out to the ring. She talks about WrestleMania and being one of the best after beating Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. But she's quickly interrupted by none other than current NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer. She's here. Stephanie is here to show respect to Io, she says. But Stephanie wants a match against Io. She wants a match against the best. Io then accepts the match. And it looks like it's going to be Vaquer versus Io tonight. And that's exactly what we get. We get an impromptu matchup between Io Sky taking on NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer. I thought it was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Io and Stephanie, with Io keeping the pace of the match. Stephanie then hits a Hurricane Rana into a roll-up on Io for a near fall. But Io gets up, hits a Spanish fly off the top rope on Stephanie. Roxanne Perez is here. The match ends in a disqualification. Julia is here as well. She attacks Stephanie. After that, Rhea Ripley's music hits. She runs down to the ring, and Rhea attacks Roxanne Perez. And Rhea Ripley and Julia just have a stare down in the middle of the ring. Some interesting stuff there between Rhea Ripley and Julia. Moving on from that, we have Jey Uso. Jey Uso comes out to the ring. Jey Uso talks about the road wasn't easy after he won the World Heavyweight title, beating Gunther at WrestleMania 41, night 1. Jey talks about WrestleMania, like I said. All of a sudden, Sami Zayn's music hits. Zayn comes out to the ring. The crowd goes crazy. We haven't seen Zayn in about 8 months. Zayn then hugs Jey. Zayn says that he had to be the first person to let Jey know how proud of him he was. Zayn says that Jey deserves the title. The crowd goes crazy, telling Jey that he deserves it. After that, they both start, doing the yeet chant in the middle of the ring, but then they're interrupted by Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso comes out to the ring. He hugs Sami Zayn, and then Jimmy gives congrats once again to Jey Uso. Moving on from that, we have Gunther. Gunther comes out to the ring. He goes out to the announce table where Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are, usually doing commentary. Gunther looks pissed off. Gunther then confronts Michael Cole. Gunther then puts Cole in a sleeper hold ringside. After that, Pat then leaves the commentary table. He ends up attacking Gunther. McAfee then walks away, turning his back to Gunther, but Gunther then walks over, applies a sleeper hold on Pat McAfee, leaving him pretty much passed out ringside. Thought that was some interesting stuff there between Gunther and Pat McAfee. Moving on from that, we have Dominic Mysterio defending the Intercontinental title against Penta. I thought this was a good match, back and forth matchup between Mysterio and Penta, with Penta keeping the pace of the match. Penta then hits a Mexican Destroyer on Dominic Mysterio. All of a sudden, Penta goes to the top rope, but JD McDonough is here. He attacks Penta. We get the return of JD McDonough. Dominic then hits a 619 on Penta, followed by a frog splash, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still WWE Intercontinental Champion, is Dominic Mysterio. Hats off to Dominic Mysterio for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Seth Rollins closing out the night. He comes out to the ring with Paul Heyman, the wise man. Rollins grabs a microphone and says that he stole the wise man from Roman, and he also stole Punk's best friend. After he makes those comments, Punk is here. Punk walks down to the ring, seemingly looking pissed off. Punk gets in the ring. Rollins and Punk then both exchange in the middle of the ring. Punk then goes after Paul Heyman, but Rollins hits a foot stomp on Punk. After that, it looks like they were getting ready to leave the ring, but all of a sudden, Roman Reigns' music hits. Roman comes out to the ring. He hits a spear on Rollins. Roman then hits a Superman punch on Heyman, pretty much laying Heyman out. Roman then goes to spear Heyman, and all of a sudden, somebody out of the blue comes out of nowhere and spears Roman Reigns. And that person was revealed to be none other than Braun Breaker. Breaker then hits a spear on Roman and Punk. It looks like Braun has joined Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. Rollins then hits another foot stomp on Punk and Roman Reigns. A couple things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to Monday Night Raw before I get the hell up out of here. This by far has probably been one of the best, Raw after Mania that we've seen in quite some time. This was a fantastic Raw after Mania, hands down. I will go as far as to say, and I would wait for people to argue with me on this. I would go as far as to say that this Raw that we saw last night was better than WrestleMania 41. And it's hard to argue against that. Last night's Raw was absolutely awesome. We get the return of Rusev, a.k.a. Miro, former AEW talent. He goes back over to WWE. He makes his return. He attacks the Alpha Academy. It's great to see Rusev back in the fold of WWE once again. We see Dominic Mysterio have a title defense for the first time after he won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, beating Braun Breaker. It was a great match. We see the return of JD McDonough as well. After JD McDonough has been out with a severe injury, he is finally back into the fold of WWE as well as the Judgment Day, so it's great to see him back as well. We see Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez once again become women's tag team champions. Becky Lynch ends up pretty much turning heel and attacking Lyra Valkyria, so clearly there's a matchup there to be made between Lyra and Becky Lynch. But all in all, man, Monday Night Raw was not bad at all. From top to bottom, it really wasn't. I mean, Io Sky having that matchup with Stephanie Vaquer, that was a solid match, bro. And I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that for those people out there that are concerned about the main roster or the women's main roster for WWE, I'm telling y'all, man, you guys got nothing to worry about. Number one, this matchup between Io and Stephanie was a great match. Absolutely great match. You got champion versus champion, one obviously being the women's world champion with Io Sky, and the NXT Women's Champion with Stephanie Vaquer. It was a great match. And like I said, man, for those that are concerned or worried about the women's main roster in the future, I can't see it. I can't see it being an issue, bro. When you got people like Stephanie Vaquer in NXT, you got Jordan Grace, you got Julia, you got other names that are on that roster right now, man, that are just absolutely destroying shit on NXT. Sol Ruka, who just won the Women's North American Championship at NXT Stand and Deliver. I mean, you guys have a solid roster and upcoming women to come up into the main roster for WWE. So I think the women's roster in the foreseeable future looks fantastic. It looks great. With that being said, I mean, I can also see the fact that, some people were not thrilled not seeing Cody Rhodes or The Rock last night on Raw. I was a little bit more pissed off not seeing Cody Rhodes than I was The Rock. I told you guys before after I did my Mania review, if Rock would have showed up on the Raw after Mania, I would have been legitimately pissed off. Because no offense, bro, you were a day late and a dollar short. And my thing with The Rock, and I should have mentioned this, the other day about Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Unfortunately for The Rock, when you come on live TV and you're a part of a storyline, it's either you're all in or you're all out. You know what I mean? And if this is the shit that we're going to get from The Rock with these bullshit teases once in a while, I'd rather have you stay away, to be honest with you, and just be a member of the board. Because it's a waste of everybody's fucking time, to be honest with you. Cody, I was a little disappointed that we didn't see Rhodes show up on Monday Night Raw last night. Kind of talk about what happened in the matchup that he had with John Cena at WrestleMania. I'm hoping we get some kind of rebuttal from Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. SmackDown should also be a stacked card. We got a return of Aleister Black. That's already scheduled to happen on Friday Night SmackDown. So, hopefully, we get something happening there from Cody Rhodes. But, the match itself between Rhodes and John at WrestleMania, man, it fell flat. It was lackluster. Had no drama at all. I mean, besides maybe Travis Scott coming out to the ring, which I thought was complete and utter bullshit. It just, the main event on night 2 just fell flat. And obviously it seems as if they have a plan for John Cena next. It looks like it's going to be Randy Orton, which I told you guys earlier in the show. I'm all for this matchup. Absolutely. Randy Orton and John Cena have a long history with each other. I think it's going to be a great match back and forth between these guys. And like I told you, the roles are reversed. The last time these guys faced off against one another, Orton was the heel and John Cena was the babyface. Now the roles are reversed, and now it's going to be Orton being the babyface and John Cena being the heel. And Backlash, from what I understand, is going to be in St. Louis, Missouri. It is the hometown of none other than than Randy Orton. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be very telling. The other main vocal point out, that the big elephant in the room, obviously, is what happened in the end of Monday Night Raw last night, the Raw after Mania, was Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins walking out to the ring with Paul Heyman. Rollins cutting that promo, telling everybody that he stole Paul Heyman from Roman and CM Punk. We get the exchange there between Punk and Rollins, where Rollins pretty much took out CM Punk. And then we get Roman Reigns. Reigns comes out to the ring. He attacks Paul Heyman as well as Seth Rollins. And then we get this mystery person show up out of nowhere with a sweatshirt on and a hoodie up and hitting the spear, devastating spear on Roman, leaving him in the middle of the ring. And that person was revealed to be none other than Braun Breaker. You know, when I saw this, number one, I was like, holy shit. This is a great moment. This is absolutely awesome. And again, this is something where when I first saw this, I don't know if you guys remember this or not. Back in the day in WCW, I know some other people mentioned this, but I had to say this. Paul Heyman back in the WCW days, early WCW days, had a stable known as the Dangerous Alliance. You had Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton was in there, Rick Rude, and Stunning Steve Austin, who later became Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was a great faction, in my honest opinion. It was a strong faction in WCW. To me, we're getting the Dangerous Alliance 2.0 in WWE, with the start of Seth Rollins at the helm with Braun Breaker. I'm all for this, and I think Paul Heyman is still yet to be done recruiting people to this stable. This is going to be a stable that's going to be a force to be reckoned with within WWE as a whole, whether it's SmackDown or Raw. I'm very interested to see who Paul Heyman is going to recruit now that we have Seth and Braun Breaker. You know, is he going to recruit maybe a woman from the women's locker room, maybe a Shayna Baszler? You know, I know a lot of people are trying to push for, Karrion Kross. You know, who's going to be next that joins this faction that seemingly Paul Heyman is creating right in front of our eyes? And I'm locked in, man. I'm all for this. I think this is going to be awesome. You know, and then having Seth Rollins and now Braun Breaker a part of this stable. And I mean, you guys had to go back and remember that, one of Braun Breaker's first ever introductions to the main roster, he was greeted by none other than Paul Heyman. You know, Paul Heyman had a lot of praise for Braun Breaker when he came up to the main roster. So, this could be something where, Paul is putting those feelers out to see who is willing to join him in this new faction, and I'm all for it. And I think if I had to predict a match, I think we might see Seth Rollins teaming up with Braun Breaker to take on CM Punk and Roman Reigns in the co-main event of WWE's Backlash. And if that happens, you can take my money. That you can't ask for a better match than that. I mean, the story writes itself. You got this new stable that's forming with Paul Heyman. And then you got bitter enemies turning friends with Roman Reigns teaming up with CM Punk to take on Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker to try to destroy everything that Paul Heyman is trying to create. I'm all for that. I'm locked in for that. That's going to be awesome. And if my prediction is correct and Paul Heyman is actually creating a stable within WWE with some of the top stars, I'm 100% locked in. Absolutely, bro. I mean, the thing of it is, I don't think, and I'm going to say this too, I don't think Paul Heyman truly, honestly gets a lot of credit. And it's not me glazing. It's really not. It's me being honest. This guy, Paul Heyman, is one of those guys, again, and I'm not saying he's a Dusty Rhodes. There's no way I'm going to say that. But the mind that Paul Heyman has for the business, and honestly, the mind that he has for talent is undeniable. You cannot deny that this guy knows talent. I mean, if you look from his early days in WCW and aligning himself up with Stunning Steve Austin, and he believed in Austin before he became Stone Cold, ravishing Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton. I mean, just the Dangerous Alliance alone, and what he's done in his tenure in professional wrestling. I mean, look what he did with ECW. I mean, ECW really put Paul Heyman on the map as a promoter, as a manager, as a guy that knows professional wrestling. And I mean, look at the names that have walked through the doors of ECW. I mean, honestly, the people that walk through those doors are absolute legends. First ballot Hall of Famers, absolutely. I mean, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn. I mean, this was a time. I mean, you got to think he brought in Perry Saturn, and I'm not saying Perry Saturn's one of the all-time greatest, but he put Perry Saturn on the map. I mean, he was tag team partners with Cronus, and they were former ECW tag team champions. That's because Heyman saw something in Perry Saturn. And you look at Dean Malenko, you look at Chris Benoit, you look at Eddie Guerrero, you look at Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, Bigelow really, for what it's worth, kind of, yeah, he had his time in WWE, and I get in the early days, and then kind of revamped his career in ECW, to be honest with you, in my honest opinion. Shane Douglas, obviously, and again, Shane Douglas also had a tenure in WCW, but, he made a big name for himself over in ECW. He revamped his career. Taz. I mean, Taz was a household guy for ECW, and no one knew who the hell Taz was, and Taz solidified himself in ECW, and he was a household name for ECW, which ultimately plateaued his career into the WWE. And, you look at someone like Raven. I mean, when Raven got into business, man, he was a manager. You know what I mean? I think he was Scotty Flamingo or some shit like that back in the WCW days, where he would walk out with a flannel shirt and a top hat and a cane. You know what I mean? This is Raven that we're talking about. So you can understand the fact that this guy has an eye for talent. And I don't think Paul Heyman does get a lot of credit where credit's due. I mean, this guy has a mind for the business, and he knows talent. He can spot talent from a mile away. And you look at this faction that he's slowly starting to build in front of our own very eyes, with someone like Seth Rollins, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Braun Breaker. I mean, this guy is second generational talent or third generational talent, and a future Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? This is a guy that's it's not been with on the main roster that long, and this guy's already 2-time Intercontinental Champion. So I mean, clearly there's something behind Braun Breaker, and I'm a big fan of the Steiners. I mean, I was a big fan of Rick Steiner as well as Scott, as the Steiner brothers, and they were a great tag team. They were a force to be reckoned with. But to see Braun Breaker join the likes of Seth Rollins, it begs the question: who's next? Who is Paul Heyman going to bring in to line themselves up with Rollins and Braun Breaker? That's the $1 million question, and it's something where, again, they're leaving you with a cliffhanger. What's next for Paul Heyman? What's next for Seth Rollins? What's next for Braun Breaker? You know what I mean? So you had to look at the narrative in the aspect of like where this is going to go, and where are they making a stable? Is this a Dangerous Alliance 2.0? Hopefully it is, because that's the way it's starting to look. And if it is, man, I'm all for it, man. Like I said, Paul Heyman genuinely does not get enough credit where credit's due, and hopefully he does get that, more acknowledgement for what he's done in professional wrestling, because honestly, he deserves it. This guy knows professional wrestling. He knows the business, and he damn well knows talent. Absolutely knows talent. So I'm locked in, bro. This was a great Monday Night Raw. I think this Raw definitely, in my opinion, it might be a hot take for most people, but in my opinion, this Raw that happened last night surpassed WrestleMania 41. And I look forward to next week's Raw, man. I look forward to what's going to happen next with Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker, and the stories that are going to slowly unfold leading us up to Backlash this year in St. Louis, Missouri. Because like I mentioned earlier, man, we already got pretty much 2 matches almost pretty much lined up, with John Cena defending the Universal title against Randy Orton in his hometown, and a possible tag team matchup here between Rollins and Breaker teaming up, taking on, like I said, bitter enemies turn friends, between Roman Reigns and CM Punk teaming up for the first time in a tag team matchup. So it's going to be very interesting and very telling where this is going to go now that, Roman and Punk were both pretty much laid out in the middle of the ring due to Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. And once again, for right now, on paper, Roman Reigns is in an island all by himself, bro. So it's a tribal chief without an island. So we're going to see how this is going to play out for Roman. And hopefully, if the Raw was good, which was great, hopefully SmackDown's not that bad either. Like I mentioned earlier, we are getting the return of Aleister Black. I'm excited for that. And hopefully we'll see some storylines play out on SmackDown, some surprises and shocking moments that lead up on SmackDown. So I'm all in, man. I'm locked in. I think this Raw was great. I think it was one of the best Raw after Manias that we've seen in quite some time. And I think genuinely WWE hit a grand slam last night with Monday Night Raw. And I look forward to what's going to happen next. And, after what happened in that main event segment last night between Seth Rollins and CM Punk and Roman Reigns, I'm looking forward to next week to see what happens next for Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker. But with that being said, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classy.